Hello everyone. So today in this session, we'll be learning how to create basic shapes using the tkinter module in Python. So what I have done here is I have taken some shapes like square, a triangle, a circle, and a rectangle. So how do I create these shapes using tkinter in Python? So let me first show you what are the things we should know before creating or designing this shape in Python. First, we need to understand that a shape will have some particular size, like the size of each side of this square, or maybe there will be some dimensions like the positions of the vertices or the corners of the square. For example, here we can see is the square is having four corners. One is at 100 comma 100, another is at 300 comma 100, another is at 100 comma 300, and the other is at last one is at 300 comma 300. So what are these numbers? These numbers are nothing but the coordinates of the corners of the square. So from where these coordinates are coming from? These are coming from the x-axis and y-axis. So here I can say that this is the x-axis and this one is the vertical one is the y-axis, right? So these basic concepts about geometry should be known to understand whatever I am going to explain today. So here, what is happening? The first corner of the square. By first corner, I mean this corner. This corner is at 100 comma 100, which means 100 units from the x-axis, we can see in the horizontal axis, and 100 units from the top. That means 100 units on the y-axis. So that's why this point is 100 comma 100. This one is 300 comma 100 because it is the position of this corner is 300 units from the x-axis and 100 means it is 100 points on the y-axis. So let us assume that this point is 0 comma 0, right? This point is 0 comma 0. So from here to here it is 100 comma 100, and from here to here this point is 300 comma 100. Okay, so these are the things we need to know for any shape. Let's say this shape or a rectangle, the same thing will be happening here. Here we have the coordinates of the corners, or else if we want to create a circle, we'll see that the similar kind of things will be needed as well in the triangle. Okay, so let us now start with the square. So for the square, we have two kind of scenarios. Let's say I may know the position of the corners, or else I may know the size or the length of each side of the square. So we'll try to cover both the scenarios in Python using tkinter. Okay, so let us start. Let us first know what is this tkinter. The tkinter is something which will help us to create GUI, which means graphical user interface in Python. Okay, so what I'll be doing here, first let me show you how to set up or how to import the tkinter module. So I need one import statement like this. Import tkinter as whatever you want. If you want to write ABC, you can write it as ABC. If you want to write it as TK, you can write it as TK. Whatever you want, you can write. So I have kept it as TK to make it short and simple. After that, I need to create a window. So this will be the root window or the main window of our GUI. So here what I am doing, I'm taking this TK and I'm calling this TK. I'm creating an instance of this TK class, which will help us to create a window, which will be our root window. Then next, and I have named a variable as window. Next, I'm assigning and I'm putting a title for this window as a square, as we are creating a square. You can write anything you want here. Okay, so window.title method will help us to specify the name of the window. Next what I am doing, I am taking a variable canvas where I'm creating a canvas widget. It is known as a widget. This canvas widget will help us to draw the shapes what we want to draw. And this canvas widget, to create this, we are using this canvas class and we are creating an instance of it. And we are passing some things here. What are these things? The width and height are obviously the height and width of the canvas or the uh, widget, that is the canvas widget. And here we are passing something called window. Window is nothing but this window that we have created. What is the meaning of this? I am telling Python to load the canvas widget inside the window. What is window? Window is the root window. So I am telling that please load the canvas widget inside the window. Next. Next, I am using this canvas.pack. So what this canvas.pack will do, it will pack all the items. It will fit all the items, whatever I am creating inside the canvas. Okay. Next, I need four values like this. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. I have just given some names. So four variables will be needed at least to create a simple square. So what are these X1, Y1, X2, Y2? These are the coordinates of the four corners, not the four corners. Actually, it is the top left corner and the bottom right corner. Okay. tkinter is so smart that we have some special functions which will help us to create this square by knowing only the top left corner and the bottom right corner. Okay. So what are the things we need? So here 100 comma 100 are x1 and y1, and 300 comma 300 are x2 and y2. So I hope this is clear from here that how this 100 comma 100 has come. 100 units from the x-axis and 100 units from the y-axis. Similarly, this point, this bottom right corner point, is the coordinates of this is 300 units from the x-axis and 300 units from the y-axis. So that's why I have written here x1 as 100, y1 as 100, x2 and y2 as 300 and 300 respectively. Okay, after specifying the four corners, I need to use a create rectangle method. The create rectangle method is a part of this canvas object, this canvas widget. Inside this widget, canvas widget, we are trying to create a rectangle where we pass these four values x1, y1, x2, y2, which are nothing but the coordinates of the top left corner and the bottom right corner. And we are passing some extra information like fill equal to red. So I want to fill the square with a red color and I want a black outline. So I am passing these two things. It is your wish. You can avoid this as well. Okay, fine. Then finally, after creating the rectangle, I need to call this window.main loop method. this main loop is a method of this window or the main window or the root window. If I don't run this, the output will not come, and it will actually this thing will help us to create the window and wait for any user action so that it can be closed or done something with it. Okay, so this is how I create a square for square using tkinter in Python. Now what we are doing here is we are calling a function called create rectangle. So this, we don't have a special function called create square or something. Create rectangle is the only method to create this kind of quadrilaterals. So normally, what is the difference between square, rectangle, and other quadrilaterals? The main difference is square and in square and rectangles, all the angles all the internal angles are 90°, but it may not be 90° for other quadrilaterals like rhombus, trapezium, and all those things. So that's why this create rectangle method knows that the shape that I'm trying to create is having 90° from in all angles. So that's why I'm passing this 4 values. By knowing these 2 corners, it will be able to give us a square. So let us run this code and see the output. So let me run this code py. The name of the file is square.py. And if I run this code, I am getting a window. How this whole window is coming? This whole big window is coming because of this window object that I have created, this tk object. Next, a canvas is created. Inside the canvas, we have a square loaded. Okay, this is how we create a square. Let us now consider the other scenario that I mentioned in the beginning. In the present case, we were able to create the square from the coordinates of the corners of the square. But the other scenario that I mentioned in the beginning was if we are asked to create a square having a certain length as its side. Let's say I want a square with sides of 100 units in length. Then what do I do? So for that, what I can do is, so let me close this for some time and let us go back to the picture. Here, let us see one thing. Uh, let's say I want a square which is having 200 units of length of its side. Each side length is 200 units. Then how do I create the square? Here we can see the length of this side is 200 units and the length of this side is also 200 units. So let's say I want to create a square of side of length 200 units. So for that, I just need to modify the existing code. So let us take a variable here, side length is equal to, let's say 200. Then what do I do? And I just need to know the x1 and y1. That is, where do I start? So here the starting point is 100. If the starting point is 100, then even if I don't know this what it is called, this coordinate, the coordinate of the lower bottom right corner, even then I can get this value. So what it will be, if this is 100 comma 100, this one will be 100 plus 200, right? What is 200? 200 is the length of each side. So here instead of 300, I have to write x1 plus side length. Similarly, y2 will be y1 plus side length. And if I run this code, the same kind of output I'll be getting. So I can see I got the same square. If you want a side length of 300, I just change this value. I don't need to change anything here. It will automatically calculate it and give us the output. So to get the output, I just close this and rerun this file. So I got a bigger square this time, right? So this is how we can create squares in different scenarios. Like if the corners are given, or else we can also go with the length of each side. If we get know the length of each side, we can create a square by using this technique. Okay, now let us move on to creating a rectangle. To create a rectangle, we'll follow the same kind of approach that we have followed for creating the square. So let us see the rectangle in the graph. So here, what we want is the two corner points. The left top corner, which is 100, and the bottom right corner. So here, again, we will have two scenarios. The first scenario is with these two corners. Second scenario, we'll try to cover with length and breadth. When we know the length and breadth of the rectangle, then what we should do. So first, let us fix this problem where we know the corners 100, 500, 300. So I will do the same things what I did. I will import the tkinter as tk. Then I'll create a window, which I had done earlier using tk.tk class. And then I'll put a title as a rectangle. And I'll create the canvas widget, which should be loaded inside the root window and with some specified width and height. Then I will do the canvas.pack to pack the items. And I will take x1, y1, x2, y2. So what are the x1, y1 and x2, y2? 100, and 500, 300. So I have put here 100, 500, 300. And if I use this same create rectangle method where x1, y1, x2, y2 is passed with fill color and outline. And finally, we need to run the or execute the main loop method. So if I save this and run this code, let's say py rectangle.py. So if I run this code, I will get the output as this. So this is the rectangle I'm getting because of this particular coordinates. Now let us try to do this thing when we have the length and breadth. So what we'll have here, the length is from this image, from this graph, I can say that the length is 100, 200, 300, 400. 400 units is the length of the rectangle and breadth is 200. So let me put 400 and 200. So I go to the code, I create two more variables. Length is equal to 400 and breadth is equal to 200. Right? This is what we have here, 400 px, 400 units length and 200 units breadth. So what I need to do is the x1, y1, that is the starting point of the rectangle will be same. But this x2, what is the x2? That is the bottom left corner. So there, what will happen? Bottom right corner, sorry. Bottom right corner x2 is 100 plus 400, which is the length. So whatever I did for the square, the same thing I have to do here. So x1 plus length. And for y2, I have to write y1 plus breadth. Because what will be y2? Y2 will be 300, which means 100 plus 200. 200 is the breadth of the rectangle. So let us save this and run the code. So first I need to close this and then run the code again. And if I run the code again, I get the similar output. This way, what you can do, you can create rectangles for different length and width. So let me take 500 is the length, and let's say 150 is the width. So if I save this and run this code, I get a rectangle like this. Okay, so that's how we can create a rectangle, either by getting the coordinates of the corners, or else also by knowing the length and breadth. Let us now see how to create a circle shape in tkinter. In the previous cases, we had two scenarios. Like the first was when we know the corners, and the second one was when we know some length or dimension. In the same way, even here, what we will be going through is, first we'll consider when we know the uh, corners of the square that holds the circle, which in this case is 100, and 400, 400. And another scenario we will cover is where we know the radius of the circle. So let us see them one by one. So for the first case, what we are assuming is we want to create a circle which is contained inside a square, and we need to know the coordinates of the top left corner and the bottom right corner, similar to what we were doing earlier. So let us first see the first scenario where we know the corners. So if I try to do that, I will cover something like this. So here, the remaining all the things will be same. The only difference is I'll be using a create oval function or method in place of the create rectangle method, which we used earlier. So here from the graph, we can see that the top left corner is 100, 100. So I have given x1, y1 as 100 and 100. And the bottom right corner is 400, 400. So I'm putting the x2, y2 as 400 and 400. So here we need to take care that we should know the corners of the square that holds the circle. Or if it is not a circle, let's say if it is an oval, again we have to consider the corners of the rectangle that holds the circle. Okay, so let us now try to see what is the output. And remember one more thing, we are using a create oval method. We don't have a create circle method here. We have a create oval method, which will act just like the create rectangle method. So let us now run this code, py circle dot py. And if I run this, I get a circle like this. Now, if I want something like, I don't want a circle, I want an oval. So let us consider the rectangle which we had earlier, which is 100, 100 and 500, 300. If I create it like this, 100, 100, 500 and 300. These are the coordinates of this rectangle. Then we won't get a circle. We will get an oval, which is enclosed inside this rectangle. So it will be something like this. It will be something like this. So this is the desired output we are looking for. So let us run this code and check whether whatever we are expecting, are we getting it or not. So to run that, I just close this once and run the code again. And yes, we got the output what we were expecting. We were expecting this kind of oval. So I got this kind of oval. So this is how I can create a circle when I know the coordinates of the quadrilateral, or I would rather say the rectangle which encloses it. Let us now consider the second scenario where we know the coordinates of the center of the circle and also the length of the radius. So let's say I know that the length of the radius is 150 units and the coordinates of the center is 250, 250. So from these two values, I need to find out the coordinate of this corner and this corner. So what is to be done in that case? To find the coordinates of this corner, what I need is I need two distances. The distance from here to here and the distance from here to here. If we know these two distances, we can get the coordinates of this corner. So to get these two values, what I can do is first I need this total distance from the x-axis to the center. We already know that this value is 250 that we can see from the coordinates of the center. That is the center y value of the y position of the center. That is the 250. Now, if that is the 250, if I subtract this 150 value, which is the radius, if I subtract this radius value from the total line, I will get this particular length, which is nothing but the y value of this corner, because this is what we want. This is the line we want. This is the length. So 250 minus 150 will give us 100. So the y value of this corner is 100. So we still don't know the x value. The y value is 100. Now I need the x value of this corner. So the x value of the corner again we can get from this side. See, if this is the total distance from the y-axis to the center, then how do I find out the x coordinate? So let's say this is the total distance from the y-axis to the center. That is, we already know it as 250. Now, if I subtract the radius, if I subtract this radius from the total line, what I will get is, I will get this distance. If I get this distance, then I will get the x value of the top left corner. So, which is again 250 minus 150, which is the radius. We will ultimately get 250 minus 150 will give us 100. So again, this line is also equal to 100. So the coordinates of the top left corner is 100, 100. So I can write it here 100, 100. Fine. Okay. This is what we want. So what I will do is center x minus radius will give us x1 and center y minus radius will give us y1. This is how I will get the 100, 100 values. In the same way, I need to find out the x2 and y2. What are the x2 and y2? That means I need to find the coordinates of this corner. So here the opposite will happen. Here we need to add the radius to the distance from the center. So the distance from the x-axis to the center is 250, which I can see from here. This is the distance from the x-axis to the center, that is 250. 250 plus the radius will give us this position. This position is actually the distance from the x-axis to the bottom right corner. That distance will give us the y value of the bottom right corner, and the x value will be the x distance, which is from the y. What is the y distance? It is again 250. We already have it here, 250 plus the radius. which is this one. Let me show the radius. The radius is this part. So if I add this radius to 250, then I will get the coordinate, x coordinate of this particular corner. Okay. So what we will get 250 plus 150, right? Those are the radius. So 250 plus 150 will give us 500 and sorry, 400. And again, 250 plus 150 for the x-axis will also give us 400. So ultimately, the coordinates of the bottom right corner will be 400 comma 400. So this is how I need to find out the coordinates. So here, what I will write, center x plus radius and center y plus radius, which we can see from the graph. Center x plus radius is giving us 250 plus 100, that is the y position of this, and center x plus center y plus radius is giving us the y2 of the bottom right corner. Now if I combine all these things and pass the x1 y1 and x2 y2 to the create oval function, I will ultimately get the same kind of circle. So let us save this and run the file, and I got the same kind of circle here. Okay, that's how we can find or create a circle with both using the coordinates of the square or the when the radius and center are given. Let us now move on to the triangle. How to create a triangle using the tkinter in Python. So here we don't need the create oval or create rectangle function. We need a separate function known as create polygon, and we should know the three points coordinates, the coordinates of the three corners of the triangle. So here we know the first coordinate of the corner is this 300 comma 100. Next one is 100 comma 300. Then third one is 500 comma 300. So let us see what is to be done. The initial setup will be all same, like import tkinter as tk, window equal to tk.tk, where we are creating a new root window, and then we are putting a title as triangle, and we are creating the canvas widget, which is to be loaded inside window. That's why I have written here window. Then canvas.pack to pack the items, and then we need a points list. We take a variable where we create a list of all the coordinates of the three corners. So first one, what was the first one? First one is 300 comma 100. So I have written here 300 comma 100, then 100 comma 300 for the second one, this one, and then the last one is 500 comma 300. So I put 500 comma 300. So if I put 6 values in this list, tkinter will take it as consider it as a triangle. If I put 8 values, it will consider it as a quadrilateral. If I put 12 values, it will consider it as a hexagon. So the next thing that I need to do is create polygon. So this create polygon method is the method behind all these things, which will decide according to the number of elements in the list, what is the polygon. So as I said, 6 values will give us a triangle in this scenario. And lastly, I just need to run the main loop method to get the output. So let us save this and run this file. When I run this file, I am getting the same triangle that I had planned in the beginning. Okay, so this is how we can create a triangle using the tkinter. So in this session, we are able to create a square, a rectangle, a circle, and a triangle. in different scenarios. Sometimes we know the coordinates, sometimes we may know some of the dimensions like side of the length of the side of each of the square, maybe the length and breadth of the rectangle, or maybe the radius and center of the circle. So this way I am able to cover all the scenarios for these shapes. Thank you and keep watching.